Hey, man in the Mayhem here, and in today's video I'm going to go through all of the different functions and features that the Bruce firmware has. If you've been following along, the last video I taught us all how to install the Bruce firmware onto a LilyGO Embed. Now we're going to get this over to the table, get a top-down view and go through every single tool that I know on the device. This is a quite long video, so if you want to skip through and find the bits you're looking for, feel free to. Do make sure that when you are working with gadgets and devices like this, you do stay ethical and you do make sure you only test them on your own equipment and in safe environments. Right, so this is the LilyGO T-Embed on the table right now. We'll give you a quick whistle-stop tour of how to turn it on and how to interact with it. Once we've done that, I'm going to go through each tool one at a time. So to turn it on, we have to push our back button, which is right here. So that button there acts as our back button and our power on button. Once the splash is finished, like so, I will show you how to navigate the menus. To navigate the menus, we have got our jog wheel, which will allow us to move forward and backwards through our different applications. And we also have our center button for selecting them. To move backwards, we once again push this button just here. So now we know how to navigate. I'm going to go through each application one at a time and let you know what it does, and where I can, I will give examples. So as it's the first one that shows up, I'm going to start with Wi-Fi. The first thing we have in Wi-Fi is that we can actually connect to a Wi-Fi network just like any other device that we own, just by clicking on the button. Once I click it, it will scan the local networks and then it will give me a list of SSIDs available to connect to, where I can then use the jog wheel to actually connect to them. I'm not going to do that now because that will dox me, showing you my SSIDs that are local to me. Following that, we have a Wi-Fi AP. By clicking the button here, we're able to set up a local Wi-Fi network called BruceNet with the password BruceNet that any device can connect to. This is great for file sharing and for actually getting in touch with this device and putting files on and off it. Once you've set up that Wi-Fi AP, the Wi-Fi AP will now turn to disconnect. So if we want to disconnect from the Wi-Fi we just connected to, or from the AP we have made, we have to make sure we click disconnect. So by clicking the disconnect button, we will then disconnect. The next tool in our Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi attacks. Inside Wi-Fi attacks, we have got target attacks for getting more information of MAC addresses and channels, to send deauth frames, to clone APs and make evil portals, to deauthenticate and clone SSIDs, to deauthenticate, clone and verify in the case you're trying to get a password from a Wi-Fi network. So just to show you some of those tools, I can click target attack, it will do a scan and bring up my SSDs, and we can then pick which one we would like to attack and what attack we would like to do. So I'm now going to pick an AP here and it will give me a list of options that I can choose to do. Next up is Evil Portal. By clicking on Evil Portal, it will ask us if we want to create one. I'm going to use the default HTML file that is in there, which is a Google logon page. I can click on default and it will go through. I can change the SSID here by scrolling through the wheels and changing my letters, but I am quite happy with free Wi-Fi. And then I can then pick my IP range, whether I want it to be a Class C or a Class B IP range. For this instance, I'm going to pick the Class B. Give it a second, the portal will start, and as you can see now, the Evil Portal is set up. If I was now to bring over another device that can connect to the internet, you will be able to see that that free Wi-Fi exists, and that if I connect to it, it will give me a portal. I have got other videos on how to set up Wi-Fi Evil Portals, and you can follow those if you want more information on that. Once again, to get out of this, we can just click our back button. Inside of our Wi-Fi attacks, we have also got SSID spam, which will span a list of SSIDs that are inside the notes file on your SD card. There is a funny version, a Rickroll version, and a random version. You can also do a custom one that is on your card. So for this instance, we are going to click Beacon, and we are going to go for Funny. As you can see now on my mobile device, you can see all the different SSIDs that are now available. Next up is Listen TCP. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. It is fundamental to the Internet Protocol, the IP suite, and basically allows for delivery of data between devices on a network. Once you've set up TCP listening, the device will wait for TCP connections on a specific port, allowing the device to act as a server and handle communications with connected clients. TCP client allows ESP32s to connect to a remote server. As a client over TCP, you can configure the target IP addresses and port, enabling data transmission from the server. Telnet lets us connect to a Telnet server and execute remote commands. SSH lets us use the SSH, which is a secure shell, to allow command line interface access on port 22 to other devices on the network. DPWO is a default password Wi-Fi owner. It automatically discovers passwords of nearby Wi-Fi networks. This looks at default Wi-Fi schemas used by different internet providers. The next tool is RAW Sniffer. This saves PCAPs to the SD card with RAW monitoring. So it works very much like a Pwnagotchi, apart from it will not send the DOF packets, but it will save the PCAPs and network traffic that it can find. This can work quite well in junction with other devices that can DOF. ScanHost does an ARP scan on the current network and looks at the devices and what ports are open, so you can find out what attack vectors are available to you. The WireGuard app allows us to put WireGuard configs into the device. When we connect to Wi-Fi networks, we can VPN tunnel back to our home networks. Brucegotchi is the exact same as a Pwnagotchi. Once you open it up, our little creature will come alive and will start sending DOF packets and start capturing handshakes. Whilst in Brucegotchi, you can also open up the menu and use the Find a Friend and PwnGrid spam. To get out of the Pwnagotchi app, you have to make sure you come down to the main menu here. The last application underneath Wi-Fi is config. Into the config, we can add evil portals, we can remove evil portals, and that is all. And that is everything in the Wi-Fi section on the Bruce firmware right now. So the next category of tools that we're going to talk about is the Bluetooth. So inside Bluetooth, we have got media commands. The media commands allows you to pair this device with your phone and be able to scroll through TikTok and doom scroll. It allows you to play music and stop and skip tracks, and also take screenshots. This mainly works with Androids at best, but it does also work on iOS. This next one should be pretty obvious. It's Bluetooth Scan, and it scans for nearby Bluetooth devices. Bad Billy turns this device into a Bluetooth Bad USB or Rubber Ducky, allowing you to run Ducky scripts to any device you have paired to. iOS Spam spams iOS devices. This has now been patched so the phones will no longer crash and become unusable. Windows Spam spams Windows devices. Samsung spams Samsung devices. Android spams Android devices. And Spam All basically throws the kitchen sink at all devices around it and throws every type of Bluetooth device at every device it can see. And that is everything for our Bluetooth devices. Our next category of tools is RF. Inside RF, with the first one we have is Scan and Copy. Scan Copy will allow us to scan radio frequencies and be able to clone them. So here I have my flipper 0, and if I send this particular signal, you'll see that our T-Embed will pick up the signal. We can then use the menu to save this by turning our jog wheel. So if we replay the attack, we'll see that our flipper will collect that data. Custom Sub-GHz allows us to go to our little file server or to our SD card or recent section and be able to actually play back any radio frequencies we have stored. Next up is our Spectrum. Spectrum will allow us to see radio signals on our screen when they are sent. So once again, if I bring my flipper in and send through a signal, we should see it on our T-Embed. Following our Spectrum, we then have our Square Wave Spectrum, which does the exact same thing, but focuses on timing-based signals within square waves. Next up is Full Jammer and Intermittent Jammer. Both these are jammers of different frequencies that you can change within the menu and config of the CC1101 menu. Be careful where you use these, as you can get yourself in a bit of trouble if you start DOSing different devices and stopping them from communicating. Next up is Config. Config allows us to change the different RF-TX pins and the RF-LX pins, so we can change what we are sending and receiving through our different pins on our device for external boards. And that is everything in our radio frequency tools. Right, the next category of tools is RFID. So inside here we can read tag, and to read a tag what we do is we take our RFID card like this and we place it to the bottom of our device and it will scan that card. It also works on other cards, just sometimes take a little bit longer, and it will also work on tags like these here. There we go. One thing that you can do, which is actually quite cool, is you can emulate a card on your Flipper 0, and you can put your Flipper 0 to your device and be able to clone that card as well. At the moment on this device you cannot currently emulate the cards that you make, but what you can do is save them onto a different device and put them onto a Chameleon or onto a Flipper 0 to then emulate there instead. The next tool is Read 125 kHz. This reads cards and tags that are specifically 125 kHz. I haven't got any of these that I can test on this particular device. Next up is Scan Tags. Scan Tags works the exact same as Read Tags, but it just takes less data, so it's focusing more on the UID rather than the rest of the data on the card. The next section is for infrared. What I will say as a caveat to this device is that the infrared emitter is just here and is not the strongest thing in the world. The first app in this category is TV Be Gone. This sends an automatic brute force infrared attack against most TVs. In here you can pick the different regions, and once you select your region it will start the attack. Next up is custom infrared. In here you can upload your own infrared files that will be on your file server or on your SD card. A smart thing to do when you get your T-Embed set up with Bruce is to actually put the stock SD card files onto your device. This will allow you to go to SD card, come down to infrared and be able to use different TVs and infrared commands at your own will. Infrared read allows you to take an infrared remote and record the output of it. So for example, if I click infrared read here, I should be able to take this infrared remote, send a command through to it, and it will pick up the infrared command. I can then save that and emulate it and use it later. We then have config. Inside config is the settings for our IR-TX pins and our IR-RX pins. We can also repeat them and go back to the main menu. Next up is FM radio. There is nothing on here currently unless you have an external module. So once you open it, all you get is main menu. After this, we then have our file section. Inside file, we can access our little file server or we can access our SD card. We can also have a web UI and make sure we turn that on so we can interact with our files. And that is everything that is inside of our file section. The GPS section won't work without an external GPS module, but inside there we do have settings for ward driving, GPS tracker, and in the config section we can actually look at the rating there. Next up is the NRF24. This is not supported natively, but inside there you'll be able to do spectrum scans, you'll be able to do NRF jammer, you'll be able to do channel jammer and main menu and information. JavaScript interpreter does exactly what it says in the tin. It allows you to run JavaScripts from within the device. The next section is the other section. In the others section, we can put QR codes onto our screen. We can play a game called Megalodon. We can put up a microphone spectrum. We can use bad USB to do keystroke injection into devices via USB. We have a built-in mouse clicker, so if you connect this device to your laptop via USB, you can make it click automatically for you to AFK certain games and click in certain positions. We've got Open Haystack, which is an open source version of Apple AirTags. We have the interpreter again, and I button, which does not work without an external module. There's also a timer in here, which allows us to set a timer so we can use it as a stopwatch. That there is the end of the other category. It has a clock that we can set. What I will say is that if you do turn this device off fully or it runs out of battery, it does not have a real-time clock battery in there as well, so it will lose time. I find that the best way to power off this device to keep time is to hold the back button and use the jog wheel to scroll backwards to put it into deep sleep mode instead. This does still, however, have quite a big power draw and will drain your battery eventually. Our next category is Connect. The Connect category allows us to send files, receive files. And the last category that is available to us is Config. Inside Config, we can look at the brightness of the screen. We can control how quickly the screen will dim and turn off. We can look at the orientation, so if you're left-handed or right-handed, you can rotate it, so you can make it so you can hold it this way or this way. We can change the UI color. I have mine set to purple, this is my favorite color. We can change the LED colour that is on the jog wheel. Mine is currently turned to off as they can be quite bright and garish. We can change the LED brightness. We can turn sound on and off. We can make it so that once the device turns on, it will start its Wi-Fi network. We can have an application that we can pick on startups if there's something we want to do, like have an evil portal come on automatically. We can set that as our startup app. We can set our network credentials, SSID and password from in our network creds. This will allow us to change it from being BruceNet and BruceNet to being something more secure. We have a clock, we have sleep mode, battery reset, restart, and about the device. Turn off, deep sleep, and back to our main menu. All those particular applications should be pretty self-explanatory. Right, so that then brings us to the end of all the different categories of applications that are currently on the Bruce firmware. Right, that's a lot. I really hope you enjoyed going through the T-Embed and Bruce firmware to see what it can do. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If I missed anything, feel free to let me know. If I got anything wrong, also please drop it in the comments. Once again, before you go, make sure you stay ethical, only use these devices on your own networks and on your own gadgets and other devices. If you've enjoyed that, please like, comment and subscribe. I've been running the Mayhem and I'll catch you next time. Happy hacking!